is Activity 15, and we're trying to do the third part of our lecture, Are You Getting the Sleep You Need? And this is on page 143, Activity 15. We're outlining main ideas and supporting details. So in this exercise, you listened to part 3 of the lecture. You also had a chance to discuss with your partners the notes. And now you're going to look at and compare your notes with mine, okay? Yes. So you know that the lecture uses data from research to support the main idea, and you preview these sentences and try to include some information in the blanks. And remember, this is not a dictation. This is for note-taking, so you can just jot down some words and phrases and abbreviations. You don't have to have complete sentences. So if you don't have exactly the same thing I have, that's okay. If you have the idea that I have, then that will be fine. So the first one is the main point. Americans, blah, 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 blah. And you have to say, well, what is the main point? The main point is that Americans do not get enough sleep. That's the main point of this particular part of the lectures, and that's the main point of part 3. Americans do not get enough sleep. Then we have a lot of supporting details, details that support this concept. So whenever we give an idea, we want to give some facts, some data to support the idea or the main idea about Americans not getting enough sleep. So we have 2 major ones. We have 3 major ones, A, B, and C. So if we look at this outline, we see A, B, and C. Those are the major supporting ideas, and then there's some examples for each one. So the one that is marked A, it says the National Sleep Foundation surveyed American adults. Did you get that number? What's the number that you wrote down? 1,154. Okay, so you write 1 comma 154. You pronounce it 1,154. Okay, that's good. That was easy, right? Okay. Then under main point A, there are 4 numbers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are sub-points of the supporting detail. So what are the results? The first one says most Americans don't pay attention to recommendations to do what? That's the part you have to fill in. What are the recommendations? To get at least 8 hours of sleep per night. Okay, so the recommendations are that adults should get at least 8 hours of sleep per night. But do Americans do that? Most Americans don't pay attention to those recommendations. The second detail to support this from the sleep survey, is, on average, Americans sleep for how long? We need an amount of time. 6 hours and 54 minutes, right? So that's an average. And in parentheses, you can write less than 7 hours, right? Because less than 7 hours, that's a round, we call that a round figure. More exact is say 6 hours, 54 minutes. But a round number is 7 hours. So we have the symbol less than right before the number 7. And when you abbreviate hours, you can write HR or HRS. So you understand the symbol less than is a mathematical symbol, and we often use this when we're taking notes. So we use the greater than symbol or the opposite. And we use the less than. So we have less than 7 hours. So we have their example here that 2 is less than 25. And we have the example 17 is more than or greater than 4. So when we say more than and greater than, do those things mean the same thing? Yes, those are synonyms. We can say more than, we can say greater than. Let's go to number 3. So we have this one says 33 and a third to 33% sleep for in the blank. What did you put? The recommended amount. Recommended amount. So a third of the people, 33% of the people, 33% of the people sleep for the recommended amount. And then the other people, what's left over after 33%? What is the rest? The rest is how much? 67%. They don't sleep for the recommended amount. How much is the recommended amount? At least 8 hours per night. That's a recommended, but only 1/3 of the people sleep for that amount of time. Are you with me so far?
Yes.
So far, so good?
Yeah.
Okay. And number 4 is about a third sleep for less than 6.5 hours. You could write 6.5, and you can abbreviate hours by putting H or HR. 6.5 hours per night. You can write those words out, or you can just use a symbol 6.5 H or HR, and then put a slash. If you put a slash and then put N for night, or NT for night, or you can spell the whole word out, NIGHT, then you've got the right idea. Now, in your case, you can listen to the CD as many times as you want, so that means you can write out the whole thing. But if you're really in a class, in a lecture, in a real college class, the teacher is not going to repeat it 5 times, right? So you will have to write an abbreviation. So you can get used to writing the short forms. Shall we go on to B? You ready for B?
Yes.
Okay, the Better Sleep Council study results. So is this the same study or a different study? This is a different study. The first one was done by the National Sleep Foundation, and the second one was done by the Better Sleep Council. Do you see that they have capital letters? What do the capital letters mean? That's the name of something. It's an official name. It's a proper name. So when you see capital NSF, and SF stands for National Sleep Foundation. We also have capital BSC, that's Better Sleep Council. So that's some sort of an organization that conducted research. So there are many organizations and different scientists that conduct research. And the second one is the results of the Better Sleep Council. And they said that half the people said what? Did you fill in the blank there? Okay, so half the people said they weren't getting the sleep they needed. Weren't. Did you understand the word weren't? I think some of you might have misunderstood that as won't, but I want you to hear the difference between the future won't, and the past weren't. Okay, now, if you have your grammar monitor on, then you will hear the word getting, and if you hear the word getting, that means it must be a progressive. So weren't getting is past progressive. That makes sense. But won't getting makes no sense in terms of grammar because won't is future. If you use the word won't, the next word cannot be ing. The next word must be what? Base form. So in the future, people won't get. But if you are doing a research study about people's sleep habits, are you talking about the future? No. So both your grammar knowledge and your logic should tell you it can't be future. So some of you need to turn all of those things on in your brain as you are listening to help you understand what the words are. Half the people said they weren't getting the sleep they needed. If you use the word I, you could say, I wasn't getting the sleep I need. How about he? He wasn't getting the sleep he needs. How about she? She wasn't getting the sleep she needs. How about they? They weren't getting the sleep they need. We Give me a whole sentence. We weren't getting the sleep we need. How about you? You weren't getting the sleep you need. Got it? Okay. So that means that these people, half the people felt they were not getting the sleep they need. Do you think they were getting sufficient or insufficient sleep? Insufficient. Good. Remember the word insufficient? What does that mean? Not. Sufficient means not enough, right? Insufficient means not sufficient. That means not enough. So if we say, I'm not getting the sleep I need, that means the amount is insufficient. It's not enough. So that's what they said, half the people said when they answered the survey by the Better Sleep Council. The next item of major support is Gallup Poll. Do you see capital G, capital P? So Gallup Poll is another organization that does surveys. The word poll, P-O-L-L, the word poll means survey. All right, survey and poll are similar. They are synonyms. They can both be used as nouns and verbs. So I can poll my class. That means I can ask everyone in my class. Remember at the beginning of today, before we started today's lesson, I polled you to find out who was having trouble with Chapter 7, Chapter 6, Chapter 3, Chapter 4 quiz. Remember those online quizzes? Some of you told me you were having some difficulties, and so I polled the class, and some of you raised your hands that you were having trouble with it. So that's a way. To poll means to ask a large group of people. To survey is the same thing. When you survey someone or a group of people, especially a large group, then you get results and you can say how many percent answered this way and how many percent answered that way. So a poll and a survey, those are used as nouns, and to poll and to survey are used as verbs. Gallup Poll is a very famous poll system in the United States. And they ask questions about many, many, many hundreds of different topics. They're different from the Better Sleep Council because Better Sleep Council and the National Sleep Foundation are narrow in their scope. They ask questions only about sleep and things related to sleep. But the Gallup Poll is very broad. They can ask all kinds of questions. Now, their survey results show that 56% of the adult population, you get that number? Okay, good. How about the next part? 56% of the adult population reports that something is a problem. What is the problem? Drowsiness in the day. Drowsiness during the day. Drowsiness, D-R-O-W-S-I-N-E-S-S. Drowsy with a Y, and drowsiness with I-N-E-S-S. Just like happy with a Y, and happiness with I-N-E-S-S. Okay, so drowsiness in the day is a problem. Now, what does it mean, drowsiness in the day? Okay, normally in the daytime, is your body awake or asleep? Right, normally, according to our biological clocks, human beings are normally awake during the daytime and we sleep at night. But not all animals are like that. Some of them are nocturnal. They wake up at night in the darkness and they sleep during the day. But they have a different biological clock than we do. So if people are drowsy during the daytime, is that dangerous? Yes, it can be right dangerous. So half the people, more than half, right? 56% is more than half of the adult population reports drowsiness in the daytime is a problem. So what is the conclusion for all of this data? What is the conclusion? More than, we have the greater than sign. So the greater than sign means more than, greater than half of all American adults are carrying around an enormous sleep debt. All right, remember the word debt, D-E-B-T. Which letter is silent? The B, so we say debt. Sleep debt. What does the word enormous mean? Enormous, E-N-O-R-M-O-U-S. Enormous means huge, H-U-G-E. very, 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 very large, gigantic. Anything that is, you know, small, big, large, bigger than big, that's enormous. So that is an adjective. It ends with O-U-S, like many adjectives, like famous. Are you famous? That's an adjective. All right, enormous is an adjective. So American adults, more than half of all American adults are carrying around an enormous sleep debt. Are you with me? Is that clear? Okay. Let me know if you have any questions. You ready for the next one?